Welcome to the forest. We're here live, recording in the middle of the forest.
Middle of the woods.
To talk about this stupid movie. Sorry, to talk about this movie.
How dare you?
Welcome to Afterthoughts, Forest Edition, where we talk about our first and second impression of a movie and a related topic. This week we are doing The Blair Witch Project, 1999's classic movie.
In the middle of the woods.
In the middle
where
of the
they
woods.
filmed it.
We're really out here.
We're out
Totally
there where they
real.
filmed it.
Here we are. There's a tree right in front of me. There's your proof.
There's a lot of trees, really.
Right. There's several trees. I was focusing on this one in particular. The one that's got like the scary twig witch thing on it.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, we're right
Whoa,
underneath.
did you notice that crazy pile of stones next to us?
Oh, no,
Scary.
I had no idea. So scary.
Terrifying. I'm terrified.
We should set up camp.
Oh, man. Welcome to the podcast. We're talking about the Blair Witch Project. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're done talking about it. That's it. Oh, we're done. Well, thanks for listening. We're out of here.
Rate, subscribe, like. If we really did that and you didn't give us 1 star, that's kind of on you.
That's on you.
You know, that's on you. So take responsibility for the things you listen to.
Yeah. Now that we're really going to do the episode, though, you have to give us 5. So,
Based on that example, we've tricked you into having to rate, subscribe, and all that stuff.
we set the bar low so then we can hit your expectations, you know?
Classic. The Blair Witch Project. What was your first impression of this movie? Back in 1999. When did you see it?
Oh, I saw it much later.
Okay.
Yeah, I was so not into scary movies when I was young. I got scared at everything. I got scared at not scary movies, so of course I'm not going to watch scary movies. I think I saw it in middle school, probably 8th grade. I really can't remember. And also, my first thing is I don't remember jack about this movie.
There's no one named Jack in the movie. You really don't remember any of it.
Exactly. That's what I thought his name was. But no, I remember kind of what happened at the end, parts in the middle here and there, but I remember just thinking how much I didn't remember about this movie. And I remember people saying it was the scariest movie ever, and I remember watching it and thinking it wasn't. And I was like, classic horror movie. Anytime anyone says it's the scariest movie ever, it never is. So don't listen to anyone.
That's a good rule of thumb, I think, for scary movies.
Yeah, don't listen to anyone.
I saw this movie in 1999 as an 8-year-old in theaters.
Well, then we have very different takes on it, I assume.
And I remember the experience so vividly. I didn't remember the movie. Like you, it's like I didn't find it memorable. But I remember so vividly walking out of the theater, like in the parking lot, and just being so angry. I was so mad because I hated this movie. My 8-year-old self is just like so angry and confused and perplexed. I was like, what did I just see? I don't know, but it was so dumb. Like, I can't believe we went to the movie theater to watch this stupid movie. And I bet there was something else I really wanted to see. I mean, 1999, that's like Phantom Menace, right? So maybe I wanted to see that. But I just remember being so upset and angry. And I never saw it again until this week. Yeah. I never wanted to. That always stuck with me. I hated this really dumb movie the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, there we go. Coming right out of the gate. It was never really anything to me. It was just kind of another scary movie. I guess because I saw it later, and I didn't see it in theaters. I just saw it at my house. I can't remember who I watched it with so long ago, but I just remember seeing it and was like, that wasn't really that scary. Definitely wasn't the scariest of all time. I remember seeing the found footage, and that was like what everyone was really like, oh, this, like, I remember some people thinking it really happened. Obviously, that's kind of the gimmick, but
right, yeah,
it really didn't. I obviously knew it didn't happen, and it just was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but it's really not that scary, so I don't,
yeah,
it's whatever.
I remember that being really interesting around the movie, like that there was debate. Like I remember actual debates among people that were like, "It really happened. No, it was really real." Like I feel like that I'd never experienced that with any other movies. So it was like that part of it was kind of interesting that there was this really interesting conversation about a movie outside of the movie theater. So that was cool, I guess, but I still didn't think the movie was worth that much discussion.
Yeah.
But I guess in the 17 years that since the movie's been out, like I've always looked back at it as like I didn't like that movie, but I understand that it sort of popularized the found footage genre and like just like I don't know, like big popular horror movies because the movie, I think, if I remember correctly, this movie did really well financially, considering that it didn't cost very much to make at all. So it's like I've always looked back on it as like a tentpole horror movie, like a classic one, even if I didn't ever enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I was a little interested in like rewatching it when we decided to do it. I was like, that'll be a good one because I haven't seen it in a while, and maybe now I can appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wasn't excited or not excited to see it again. I was just kind of curious because I didn't remember that much about it other than the end. I do remember when I first watched it thinking the ending was super lame. I remember coming to the end and being like, wow, that's it. This is the movie. Cool. And that was that. It's been so long since I've seen it. I didn't really remember much, so.
Yeah. All right, well, second opinions?
Second opinions. First,
let's do it.
Point. Not scary at all. Still
Not
trucking with that.
Not scary at all. And from my count, I feel like attempts at being scary, 3. Like in the whole movie, maybe there were 3 moments where they tried to be scary.
Yeah.
So it's not even just that like we weren't scared by it. It was like the movie makes very little attempt to scare you. Mm-hmm. Like what? Why?
Right. There's like that tent scene where they shake the tent, where Josh is like screaming in the background, and then the end, I guess, would be the 3.
Yeah. This movie, man.
I know. How do you feel about not seeing the witch at all? Because after I watched it, I read an article about how they did that kind of on purpose, that it's supposed to garner suspense, that she's always just around, like you can't see her, but it's just, she's out there, she's somewhere around, and that's supposed to create suspense. How do you feel about that?
I think that, I think you'd go about it, and they should have gone about it in the way of Jaws. Like, I feel like we should have seen something. Like, I think saying nothing feels kind of like a cop-out. Like, sure, our imagination is always going to be scarier than what we see on the frame, but that's like the point of the movie, is that you have to try to, or you should try to visualize something scary. So I feel like we should have seen something, maybe something slight, or I mean, take advantage of this style and show us something really quick in a shaky cam, and you can't really make out what it is, but something's there.
Right.
I feel like we never saw anything at all, and I mean, I guess it does speak to the idea that like seeing if we saw it too much, bad, really bad. Mm-hmm. But I think somewhere in the middle is where we should have aimed. I think the extreme of not seeing anything at all. I wasn't scared, so I don't think it was effective.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was thinking, especially when they're running around in the woods, just seeing anything, something. There's clearly things like shaking their tent, or I don't know, just anything, like a blur, or a, what was that, or a quick like face or anything, or not even the witch. She clearly has other things. If there's like the whole tent's shaking, there's obviously other things with you, like maybe the kids or something. I don't know, but just anything.
Yeah. How did you feel about the characters in this movie?
I wrote down, I still thought the performances were convincing. I actually thought they did a good job. That was one of the things. It kind of really felt like a found footage. I can see why people debated this could be real, because they tried really hard to just be normal people. I think you can point out maybe a few points where it didn't hit so well, but I think overall they did well. What do you think?
I agree. I think the characters they feel real. If not just a little exaggerated, but I think they feel like three student filmmakers going out in the woods. Like, it really feels authentic and real, which is like great. It feels like, I mean, this is kind of like a a young person reference, I feel like, but it's like, it feels like we're watching like a bunch of YouTube videos that you and your friends put up in high school. Like, that's really what it feels like. And to the point where it's a little annoying. Like, you would be annoyed listening to three high schoolers, or not high schoolers, but three kids, like, just like talking back and forth and getting frustrated with one another. Like, the characters are well characterized in the movie, I think. Right. But at the same time, and maybe this is just because I've edited movies, but it's like, it's too edited, I think. Like, it's really well edited, and to the point where it, like, kind of threw me out. Like, I know I'm watching a movie now, as opposed to, like, I wanted to feel like I was watching found footage, but it's like really well edited. Like, there are times when, like, the audio carries over from the previous shot, which is like, not a super advanced editing technique, but it's definitely one that is used all the time in professional editing. So, you know, it just, like, that kind of threw me out of it.
Right. I noticed that right in the beginning when you see Mike coming out of his house, and they're talking about him. There's a split, like a second right there where the audio is into the next scene, but you're still watching Josh, like, walk down the steps. And I instantly noticed that editing. But at the same time, the movie opens that it's by Lionsgate. So is it supposed to be completely found footage? Or is it supposed to be, this is found footage we found, and we're going to edit it a little bit to present it to you in a theater?
I think that's one of the biggest problems with the movie, that I kept going back and forth, and I'm still not really set on one way or the other, but it's just like, I think there's an issue with the idea that, like, the subjects of this movie are also the documentarians. Like, it just goes back and forth. Like, their commitment to filming everything, I think, destroys their characters at some points. It's like, there's no reason you would still be filming this. Like, it doesn't make sense that you would. So if we could somehow fix that issue, I think it would work a lot better.
And I don't know. Not even just the fact that they're so intent on doing it. If they were just doing it, I might not have even noticed, but it's the fact that they brought it up so much. They brought it up almost every other scene. Stop filming this. Please stop filming. Why are you still filming? And the scene where the one that I hated the most, I think, was when she was like, it's all I have left. And she's like crying. It's like, really? That's why you're still filming? But yeah. Because, like you said, I think their performances were great, and that was definitely the best part of the movie, that it felt like these were three students. But yeah, just how much they focused on why, just kept bringing it up. That's what made me think about it more. Like, should you be filming this? The fact that they keep bringing it up, should you really be filming? I wouldn't think about this as much if you didn't bring it up as much. And I get that they're kind of trying to give a reason for them to continue filming, but at the same time, it kind of was detrimental in that now I'm thinking about, why are you filming this?
Yeah. And I totally agree. And I think you could have tried different things to sort of justify it, other than like an emotional justification of like, this is all I have left. Because I agree with you. I don't really buy that. But maybe if all of the shots were at night, like at a certain point, they stopped filming except for at nighttime because they needed the light from the camera to see, like little things like that could have been little small justifications, but there's just not any of that. And it's just like a big buy that I don't buy. Yeah.
Or it could have even been better, because like we're saying, we think the performances are great. It just would have been better if it was scarier, or if something was going on. And obviously, if scary things are happening, they're going to be filming, because why wouldn't you turn on your camera to film that? So if they had added like scarier things in rather than them just being lost for most of the movie, I think it would have been better. Because they already have the performance side. It's already convincing that these could really be three students lost in the woods. So let's make it more realistic of why they're filming. Plus, it's a scary movie, so put in some scary things.
Scary things. Yeah, great point. You'd think it would be like pretty basic. But I wonder if they were, I have to think that they were trying to make a scary movie, right? I mean, you could argue that they were trying to do something completely different, but I feel like ultimately this is always going to be a scary movie.
It's definitely
so
scary movie.
Put scary things in it. This is like the worst episode of Lost there ever was.
Right.
Because like an hour in, something happens. Like I think I wrote it down. I was like, exactly an hour into this movie, Josh gets taken. And it's like, that is way too long for anything to actually happen. Mm-hmm. It's just like in any kind of a movie plot wise that we're never going to let that slide. An hour of just you guys getting lost is
right.
No, thank you. I do remember getting super annoyed in the movies the first time I saw it. Like, it reminded me watching it this time that, like, I remember being so upset that, like, I think Mike kicks the map in the river or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being really upset at that as a kid, but I couldn't articulate why that made me mad. This time, it was like, oh, I know why. Because that's, like, a dumb thing that's only there to generate conflict.
Right.
Like, he has no actual reason for doing that other than to just piss off everybody else around him. And it just felt forced. And was like, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. Didn't like that. I didn't like that there's like five lines in the movie that get repeated over and over and over and over and over again. It's just like, it feels like there was a script that was maybe like 2.5 pages and they just riffed the rest of it, but oftentimes couldn't think of what to say. So they just repeated the line over and over again.
Right.
Just like such a, I wrote this down. It just speaks to like, this was unpleasant. Like, I didn't enjoy watching it.
Yeah. I think
like the shaky cam stuff is like a little nauseating at some points. It was just like too much.
Yeah, I think it just didn't age well. I can't really say that because I don't remember much. I didn't really care for it in the first place, but I know a lot of people did. I think the reason I can tell you my second time is because it's just a found footage movie, and that's really all it has going for it. And there are other movies that now have found footage, and there's a lot of them, so this doesn't really stand out in that way anymore. And then it doesn't have anything else that really sets it apart. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in our topic as well, but that was the main thing for me, other than it not being that scary.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the ending. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the ending?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it just bugs me. I think you pulled your punch. Like, I don't think they hit as hard as they could have. It just kind of happens. And I get that you're not supposed to ever see the witch, and it was kind of a risky move. I'm sure they knew it was risky. It's like, we can either show the witch and they don't have their imagination anymore, or we can do what we did and you can just try and imagine what happened to them. But I don't know. It just never, the first impression or the second impression never hit me that hard. It was just kind of like, oh, that's the ending. That's what happens after them being lost for 2 hours. No, not even 2 hours, hour and 20 minutes. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about it is I like the ending. I mean, I don't think it's as strong as it should be. Like, I really don't think that the payoff is worth it. Mm-hmm. Like, to sit through this movie just for that, I don't think it's worth it. But I do like it. I think it's a well-crafted moment. And I think the part of the movie where they're in the house is the best part of the movie. It's just like, it feels like I don't know, like maybe that could have been the beginning, or maybe that's the middle point of the movie, the turning point. But it just, as an ending, I don't know if I like, it's just not a good payoff.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. Because I do think it's a well-crafted moment. But
yeah, it's definitely cool that they bring back the whole, they made the kids stand in the corner, so it's connecting. You see these moments, but overall, no. I still think it's not a good ending. I didn't think it was the first time. I don't think it is now.
Mm-hmm. And, okay, so the title card, or the opening card in the beginning that says that the footage was found a year later, mm-hmm. How do you think it was found? So they have this whole thing, this universe, like, made up. The creators, there's a whole nother, like, mockumentary about this that came on TV, I think. Oh.
Yeah. So they, like, went through, they hardcore tried to make this real. They made fake newspaper clippings, all of these things, interviewed people about this complete fake thing, and made, I guess it's not a mockumentary, but, like, a fake documentary about the Blair Witch, and then this came after that. So it's just interesting. And then so they make up all of this story around it. They've pretty much built a tiny world. And so there was a group of students that were checking out the foundation of the house, and it like broke open and they found it. So it's made up somewhere. It's like there. But
interesting. Maybe if that was in the movie, that'd be good, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. I would love to see this as like a crazy YouTube series.
Like the Slender Man
like
one?
like in chunks. I think there's potential here.
Yeah.
Like I think there's an aura around this movie in general that is cool, but I just think the execution's not there. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about the idea that like this movie still was hugely popular and spawned a lot of found footage movies. Like, so something here inspired people to make similar movies, or at least similar in style.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Just the style inherently is interesting, and people wanted to try to emulate it and do something new and creative with it, or I don't know. Do you think the style is worth emulating?
I mean, I think so, because Paranormal Activity then did really well after that. So I definitely think it was worth emulating. I don't know about any more. I think, I mean, that's all it had when it first came out, and people loved it. I think it was just new and original. And to see, but at the same time, like we're saying, it wasn't as scary as it could have been. So I think someone saw it and was like, ooh, I can take this really cool idea, but then make a scarier movie around it, and ran with that. And I think that's probably what the creators of Paranormal Activity were trying to go for. Mm-hmm. And other found footage movies, but I think that's the more common one nowadays.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything more about Blair Witch?
Not really.
Okay. So let's move on. Let's talk about, I mean, do you like the found footage formula? Like, does it when it's like, I haven't seen any of the. I've seen one Paranormal Activity movie, mm-hmm. and I feel like I have yet to see a found footage movie that utilizes the style in a really creative way that still has like good characters and a good story. Like I feel like it's just a big gimmick.
Yeah, I definitely think it's kind of just one of those one and done gimmicks. You kind of like it was cool when it came out in the Blair Witch Project because. Even if I didn't personally think it, I know there were so many friends that wanted me to watch this movie because it was found footage, it could have been real, and that was really interesting that you could make people think it could have potentially been real, but now it's just overdone. As now looking back specifically at the Blair Witch Project, since that's all it's had, that kind of makes it fall apart for me since there's so many other ones now. It's if that's all you had to stand out, and now that doesn't stand out anymore. What else did you have, I guess?
Hopefully characters and story, but this doesn't really have that. So.
All right.
Good point. Okay, well, so I'm curious about a couple of these. I wrote down some found footage movies. I thought we could discuss them briefly. So there's Paranormal Activity, obviously. Cloverfield, I think, was a good found footage movie.
Which one?
I think Cloverfield.
Oh, yes.
I enjoyed that one. I think it's not like it wasn't like super fun, but it was good and it was interesting. But then I wrote down some others that I was interested in. Like, apparently, was District 9 a found footage movie? I wrote that down because I saw it on a list, but I don't remember that being found footage.
I don't think it's found footage. I think it was just documentary style. It's supposed to be a documentary. Okay. I don't think.
Okay, that's what I thought. I don't remember it being, because otherwise it was like, whoa, that's the best one, clearly. Unfriended? Would you consider that found footage?
Unfriended, is that the scary movie Facebook one?
Yeah, the one that we watched.
It's close enough to be found footage, I would think. It's not.
I liked that.
I did like that too. I remember
that was cool.
Not thinking I would like that, and then I did.
Did you see Chronicle?
I did see Chronicle.
Is that found footage?
That is found footage, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's the best one, right?
Maybe.
I haven't seen it. Did you like it?
I did like it, but I haven't seen it in a long time. So, I mean, we could probably do a podcast about it and see if I still like it.
All right. Tune in next week. But okay, so I was looking through a lot of like movie examples, and the thing that it made me think was like, so found footage is interesting because it's obviously a very distinct style choice for your movie. But what's interesting is that like you sort of limit yourself with all the different writing shortcuts there are to introduce your character, to introduce what they want, to introduce the world that they're in. So if you're doing it in a found footage way, you really have to write it very well. Otherwise, all you're left with is this style with very little substance. So It can be. I feel like more often than not, it's gimmicky because they're not written as well as they should be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just such a hard one to do. That's why I think it was kind of just the one and done. Unless you can really do it well, I think someone would have to really pull out their story and characters to do this well. Because when it first came out, that's kind of all you needed. You hadn't seen it before. It's interesting, sparked a lot of conversation. But now that there's so many of them, even those old ones, like I've mentioned, have already kind of lost it. And if you're already making a found footage movie that comes out like this year or the next, you're already gonna be like, oh, it's just another found footage movie. You're gonna really have to try and make yourself different from all the other ones that have already come out.
I agree. Let me ask you this. So I think the strongest thing about this style is that it gives you a sense of realism. I think that's the coolest part about it, is that you can really make things feel authentic. So I would maybe argue, or let's argue about the idea of like, wouldn't it be better utilized if you were telling like a straight drama with no sort of horror or supernatural elements to make that feel even more realistic? Or is it best utilized in the horror genre because it compensates for the sort of outlandish supernatural horror elements?
It's a good question. Because I lean to horror, but I'm sure there's someone who could creatively think of a way to do it dramatically. But I just lean horror. I think it tends to be better for a horror movie overall.
Yeah, and I probably agree. Like, I think that it does really help compensate. Like, you can tell really crazy, scary things in this realistic way to present it in a way that sort of allows you to buy it more than you would. But I keep picturing like this fun, like interesting found footage movie that's about like a high school drama, you know, and it's like because every kid is using Snapchat and is taking pictures and is documenting their entire lives. And so I feel like there's a story in there of like this really realistic take on like what high school is like in this crazy digital social media age that we could tell that doesn't have any horror elements, you know?
Yeah.
And so I want to see that, but maybe that's just one example, and generally horror is the better place to use found footage.
Yeah. The only reason I just immediately think horror is better is kind of what we've already mentioned, that you pull out a camera for like big moments. And so in horror movies, there's things happening that no one in real life has ever seen before. So they're going to pull out their camera to record it. While if it's just about high school, you could just be recording your life, but kind of leans to the fact, why are you recording all of this? You would need a strong reason to be recording it all. And I guess it's possible. I think you could pull out a cool story from that, but I think it's just easier to be more impactful with a horror movie. Yeah.
That's a good point.
But obviously, they still fall into those traps in horror movies too, because we just, talked about this movie, so...
Yeah, this was a bad example of that.
Oh, well.
I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, I still am going to look back at the Blair Witch Project as like an important movie in horror movie history. I wouldn't recommend you watch it, but I don't know. Maybe if you're going to like make horror movies, watch that one and learn from it.
Right. And this kind of goes back to our classics thing. Would you consider the Blair Witch Project a classic just because it started the found footage genre? But still, now looking back, it really isn't as good as others could be, or others are?
Well, when I was researching this, apparently there's a movie from the 1980s. I think it's called Cannibal Holocaust. That was the very first found footage movie. But Blair Witch definitely popularized it, and it was the first really successful one. Yeah,
I'm not saying it's the first. I'm just saying it's clearly influenced others.
Mm-hmm. Well, the spiteful part of me doesn't want to consider it a classic because I didn't enjoy it. But I guess on some level I would give it that status because of what it's done for that genre that's still not that great of a genre right now.
Exactly. That's why
hopefully somebody will do something with it.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, though. Because we talked about how it has to stand the test of time, and I don't think this movie does. Like one of the things is 10 years from now, that was like what we talked about. But at the same time, it has influenced so many. So is that all you really need to be a classic? Just influence other movies, or do you need to be a good movie?
Well, would it influence our opinion if the new sequel that just came out, if that one performs really well, if it's really critically successful and financially successful? Like, imagine if that started a whole new slew of these Blair Witch movies and they were all really good.
Yeah.
Does that sort of grandfather in the original?
It might. I think I don't think just critically acclaimed. I think they have to do what they did in the first one, but make it better. Like, look at the flaws that they did in the first one, and then if they made it better, it could potentially grandfather it in. Plus, the original was an independent movie, so I'll give it that too, that low budget, don't have as much to work with, so.
The budget was $60,000. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
What did you spend that money on?
I know, that's insane.
Those, camera ready rocks? I don't.
Yeah, I guess.
Get it.
Camera ready rocks. I guess just the cameras, the actors, where they were staying. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's really funny. I don't even is the new movie found footage? Is the new Blair Witch?
I have no idea. If it's not, then the old one isn't grandfathered in.
I haven't seen a trailer for it.
Me either. Well, I'll probably go watch it.
I'll watch it after this.
Right after this podcast.
So, listeners, let us know. I want to know if if you go out and see the new one, let us know what you think of it. I want to know if it's worth seeing. Let me know if you see it and you liked it. Let us know. I'm at Joshua Kazemi. Coleman's
at Cole Tailored. Also, what do you think about found footage in general? What do you think? Do you like found footage? Do you like Paranormal Activity? Would you like a horror movie? Or if you've seen movies like Chronicle, do you like them more as kind of that genre of found footage? Let us know.
All right. Let us know.
Let it snow.
And next week, just FYI, we will be talking about Edward Scissorhands. That wasn't for dramatic effect. I forgot what it was. So watch Edward Scissorhands. That's sort of to correlate with Tim Burton's new movie coming out next week. And so, yeah, you can watch that, and we'll talk about it. And if you want to support the podcast, keep the lights on. Help us come up with a better metaphor than that. You can rate and review the podcast on iTunes, subscribe, share the podcast, tweet at us, do all that stuff. That would really help us out. And just FYI, for those of you that haven't seen the movie we're talking about this week or next week or whenever in the future, you can, and you're just interested in listening to the topic, I've started putting timestamps in the description so you can skip straight to the topic if you don't want to spoil the movie, because we will spoil every movie every week.
Movie we talk about.
So there you go. I think that's the show.
Yep, that's a wrap, as they say.
Wrap it up. We're done.
We're done.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next week, unless we get kidnapped in this forest.
Yep. No, we're lost, in case we keep going north and just end up going south.
There you go.
See y'all.
See ya.